like, and we began to communicate and elaborate on the word. And I looked at her because as we have grown since high school, she's always talked about she feels that she's ugly and nobody really likes her, and she's never been in a relationship, a real relationship, because she's ugly. And she said, look at my eyes, I look like a rat. And she started to pour all this negativity into herself. And as we sat there and she was like, well, she said, I want to do something with ugly because all my life I just felt like I've been so ugly. And I said, Lord, that's a message. And when I brought it forth, I said, I was going to say, God said that you're ugly. And so I was questioned on it. Where does it say that God said that you're ugly? And I said, well, it's not really said, but it's implied that God says you're ugly. Well, what do you mean by that? Let me break it down to you. When you look at the word ugly, when we're doing the texting nowadays, and when we text, we don't always use the whole word. We use letters. So when you break down the letters of ugly, it is you got to love yourself. So I looked up the word ugly. And when you look at the word ugly, it's an adjective. And an adjective describes, it said unpleasant, repulsive, especially in appearance. Said involving or likely to involve violence or unpleasantness. So I said, when I was thinking, I was like, well, when you go to the church house, they always talk about Jesus, and they always tell you pleasant stuff and how God was merciful and how he healed the sick and he did that. I said, but when some people walk out, they forget about how Jesus healed or how he delivered. I said, I wanted to impact their minds on today. When they walk away and they hear that word ugly, they will no longer see the dark side of ugly, but they will see the light in ugly. They will see the beauty in ugly. When you hear the word ugly, that you would say, they talking about that person has to love themselves instead of their appearance. You see, you can be ugly spiritually as well as naturally. You can be ugly on the inside as well on the outside. It's all in how you carry yourself. But we have the right to create who we are. And we have the instructions from the great I am that I am God, that we have to love ourselves. And loving ourselves, we love the great I am that I am God, because he lives where? On the inside of us. So if we're loving ourselves, we are truly loving our God. See, I think I am that I am God, for in Genesis 1:31, it said, and God saw everything that he made. And the great I am that I am God made you, he made me, he made everything. So it said he made it, and behold, it was very good. So if God made everything good, then you have to believe within yourself that I am beautiful. I am powerful. That I got to love myself because God lives on the inside of me. See, I think I am that I am God because when I look at how so many people on social media, because social media has begun to bring so many people down. They look at the Kardashians and they see their bodies and they see their money, and then they look in the mirror and they don't look like that, and they begin to say, I'm ugly. And they begin to turn from the world and begin. Suicide is so high. The rate for suicide is so high because a lot of people feel like they are ugly. But I dare you today, when you hear that word, to tell them, baby, you got to love you. You got to love yourself. You got to love the skin you are in. Don't let somebody else validate who you are on today. You have to believe within yourself that I am beautiful, that I am who God created. And the word said whatever God created was good and very good. So therefore I am good. I am fairest among thousands, altogether lovely on today. I got to walk that walk. I got to talk that talk. See, I believe in the great I am that I am God, that in his words won't go out void. He said, I created you. He created us. So if he created us and it said we are good and very good, then you got to love yourself on today. I got to love myself, and in loving myself, I got to do for myself. So I think the great I am that I am God. For in Ephesians, the 4th chapter, the 29th verse, it said, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Now, if they hear you saying, we always hear our leader. We always hear our leader talk about he's a bag of chips and all that. And that has been embedded in our subconscious that when we begin today, the other churches say, y'all conceited just like your leader. How can you, is the community or the group that you are around and you associate with, then that's how you elevate. If you're around thoughts, then that's what you're going to elevate to thoughts. If you're around drug dealers, that's what you're going to elevate to drug dealers. But if you begin to be around doctors and lawyers, you be like, well, you know what? They think a different way. So I can't hang around them and they thinking about this or they're using this and they're using that word. And I don't know what that means. That you got to begin to open that book and study. You know what? I got to be on their same level. And that's the way I feel we are with our leader. We saw that he had a high opinion of himself, a high standard, not thinking more highly than he ought to, but thinking high of himself so we might elevate to his level. And I think I am that I am God, that I can truly see that he brought the ugly out of a lot of us on today. How he began to make us beautify and love ourselves. And one day he had a mirror and he put it in front of all of us that we had to say that we're stronger, we're brighter, that we love ourselves. He said, take a look in the mirror and say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? You got to say that to yourself every morning. Some days we do have those down days when we feel like we ugly. So we feel like we can't go on. We feel like the world is on our shoulders. But when we rise up in the mind and we rise up and know that we got to love ourselves, that the ugly is only that you got to love yourself. See, that's why we have so much corruption and so much going on in the world, because the people don't love themselves anymore. They don't love themselves and they don't love God. Well, how you say they don't love God? Because God lives on the inside of you. And if you love God, the church will be full. Because you will want to be here to praise God. Because as Seth said, you could have been dead and gone. You could have been one of the numbers. But I'm go to Bedside Baptist. I'm not going to the church. I heard that money is the root of all evil. I'm not going to church and give that preacher my money. But you give the landlord your money. You give ComEd your money. You give NICOR your money. You give Sprint your money. But it's okay to give them your money that they might continue the service. But it's not okay to give the church the money that they might continue to be open. That somebody that might find themselves ugly might walk up in a church and hear the word and say, I got to love myself and walk out a different way. See, I thank the great I am that I am God for the message on this morning, because in Songs of Solomon said, my darling, you are all over. You are beautiful all over. Say, you are beautiful. This is a message to you, and you. You are beautiful all over. That dimple, that wrinkle, that whatever, that cellulite, whatever it is, you are beautiful all over. Every part is perfect. So when we can't be perfect, God made us, so we are perfect in his eyesight. So we got to know within ourselves, this message is for you. Darling, you are beautiful all over. From the crown of your head to the sole of your feet this week, you got to begin to tell yourself what's going on. But when you go in and you walk like you got $1 million in your pocket, and you might only have 2 pennies to rub together, then you don't know how it's going to flow for you. But I see that God is an on-time God. So I don't know, many of you, when you were younger, if you remember the story of the ugly duckling. Tell me there was this duck that was in this family and felt like he wasn't a part of this family that he was born in. And many of us feel like we're not a part of a family that we are born in, and we just don't fit in. Like we have brothers and sisters that a little light complexion, or we have brothers and sisters that a little dark complexion, and we trying to figure out how do we fit in, and we see that we just don't fit in, and how we begin to elevate our minds to a different level, but our family members begin to stay at the same level. You say, how do I fit in with this family member? And as this ugly duckling began to be in this family, the family began to look at him and say, you are ugly. Man. Just didn't realize that they was telling him that you got to love yourself. And so he began to say, well, I don't fit in here. So I got to begin to travel to find me a family or somewhere I can fit in. So we began to jump from church to church trying to figure out where we should go to try to fit in. And we all got to know that God will move us in time and on time. But first we got to love ourselves. And just because people begin to tell us we ugly, we got to realize that we got to love ourselves. And as the ugly duckling began to travel from here and there, he came upon another group of family. He said, maybe I can fit in here, man. And he began to get in with them. And every time he turned around, they began to look at him and say, and you surely is ugly, and you don't look like us. I think I am that I am, God. See, some of us go through that stage when we still trying to fit in, but we just didn't give up. We still kept on moving. See, I'm glad that the ugly duckling sat in a class school of wisdom somewhere, and somebody told him that don't stop there, just keep on moving and keep on marching, that your time will come. So he said, well, I'm not fitting in here, and they keep calling me ugly. See, that ugly duckling didn't realize who he was, and he said, well, I'm gonna go into another family. I'm not fitting in here, and he got with another family, and that same family began to look at him and say, well, you surely is ugly. And then the ugly duckling said, well, I'm not fitting in here. Said, every time I turn around, somebody keeps telling me I'm ugly. Didn't realize that they was telling him, you gotta love yourself. He didn't realize that he was gonna be a demonstration to the world, that even though you go through trials and tribulations, you go from place to place trying to fit in, that when you finally find your destination, how it will turn out. See, I thank God for the ugly duckling. He kept on traveling, and he came upon this family, and they began to say, we'll take you in, but you surely is ugly, but we're gonna take you in. See, some people have sympathy upon you, and they'll still take you in, and they will cuddle you, and they'll take care of you. And this family took care of this ugly duckling until it couldn't take care of it no more. And they said, well, you begin to be in our way, and we can't take care of you. We got to put you in the pond. And the ugly duckling began to feel a little low in spirit, but God will elevate you to where you need to go in time and on time. And I tell me that the ugly duckling began to be in the pond, and began to find another family, and they said, you surely is ugly, but then they begin to say, but we're gonna accept you the way you are. Somewhere somebody gonna accept you just as you are, and they begin to move around in the water. Don't you know water represents a clear understanding? And as he tread through this water, as the days begin to progress and the years begin to progress, that ugly duckling began to come to himself. He held on to God's unchanging hands. And I'm telling you today, somebody might have told you you was ugly, but you gotta love yourself just as the ugly duckling did. And he kept holding on to God's unchanging hands, and when he held on to God's unchanging hands, they told him, he saw the family that he stayed with, and they began to look upon him, and they began to say, you once was ugly, but look at you now. See, this ugly duckling,